We are now seeing a slight resurgence of the altcoins. Bitcoin has at least recovered from its lows. Nevertheless, we're still not really out of the woods yet. And with that, welcome to a new crypto update video. Yes, Bitcoin at 92,600 US dollars. Last night, we only managed to reach our larger cluster again, here at 93,700 US dollars. After that, there was another slight sell-off. It's still neither here nor there. So the altcoins are performing. You really have to say at this point, much better. Solana is recovering again. Ethereum is also recovering again, but we need to take a close look at what kind of liquidity is still below us. And in the last few days, a bit has been added there, which wasn't the case a few days ago. That was the case. We already talked about it in a bit more detail yesterday during the live stream, so I wanted to bring it up again in today's video. But before we get started, as always, feel free to give the video a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so yet. And of course, feel free to join the free Telegram talk and Signal group. If you're interested in updates, news, and signals, feel free to join. You can find the link for that for free down in the video description. And if you're still looking for an exchange where you can actually trade everything we discuss here, you can also sign up with my partner, Exchange BingX. At the moment, you can get up to 11,500 USDT in bonuses here. This offer is only available for a limited time. Plus, you get a bunch of things here like trial funds, futures bonuses, and so on, which you can simply use for that purpose if you complete certain tasks here. And right now, there's also this extra XMAS event where you can win up to $6 million. Basically, you can roll the dice every day, and then you'll get either bonuses or some other kind of vouchers. All right, so I'd say let's dive in. 6,000, that would be cool. I'd buy Bitcoin again right away. $92,600 at the moment. Yeah, we're still in our sideways phase. There's still a possibility that we're in the third wave. That's where we are right now. So our path is still heading upwards toward $98,000 to $110,000. The same thing you've been hearing from me for 3 weeks now. What continues to be problematic for me is, on the one hand, the timing aspect, and secondly, yeah, in terms of volume, I just don't really like how things are looking right now. So there really needs to be a lot more happening. That's why the short position also remains in place. And we still have the 200 SMA, that's this purple line here, as a massive resistance. We just can't seem to break through it in any sustainable way. Every now and then there's a 4-hour candle above, but the next one is already back below. Or it's always just these liquidity swaps to the upside. If we take a look at the funding rates, they're already positive again. So it's not exactly the best sign for continued pumping, especially since we had negative funding before. And that's exactly the strange thing we've been seeing again and again over the past few weeks. As soon as we dump, the funding turns negative, and as soon as we go up, the funding does exactly the opposite. When we dump, it usually somehow turns positive, and when we rise, it somehow turns negative. It's a topsy-turvy world right now, even with the funding rates. But what I actually wanted to talk about is the heat map. If we zoom in here, we can see certain clusters that have either been reduced or have newly appeared. If you remember the live stream from yesterday, you'll know that up here in this area, around $95,300, there was a lot of liquidity. That's gone now. The largest chunk of liquidity is currently between $89,000 and about $87,000. And interestingly, as we usually look at the heat map every day, the liquidity down here in this area around $72,000 to $73,000 keeps getting bigger and bigger. That has only just appeared now as well. We need to keep an eye on that. At the moment, there's almost nothing left to the upside. Those are outlier liquidations, but otherwise, most of the liquidity is currently just below us, and that's something we need to keep an eye on. How this will ultimately play out remains to be seen. As I said, the economic indicators aren't exactly the best right now. In the US, even rent prices are falling, while others bought real estate at the top. I don't know. I really don't know, friends. But yes, in any case, there are plenty of negative signs. Still, as I said, we could see another week of gains. Then comes Japan, and Japan will ultimately set the pace for us, and not just Japan, because next week we also have the CPI data coming up, which is also expected to be higher. That will be another interesting point, so I'm curious to see how things develop in the end. The short position is running, the long position is running, we're positioned in both directions, so just take profits, stay relaxed, and enjoy it, enjoy the wild ride. Then let's move over to Roofiworm. Yes, it held up well. We already talked yesterday about the possibility that we might have already found our bottom here at the 0.382 level. Now, it also seems like that was the case. From here, we're now moving up a bit for the time being. And just be careful about opening any further positions here now. So the long is running the buy zone down here. We can remove that now because it wasn't reached. That's why it's no longer relevant for now. But otherwise, wave 4 should be in now. Wave 5 is always a bit tricky to time. It's possible that we'll get another leg up. The problem is, as I said, that we're heading into the weekend now. The signs aren't really good, and most of the liquidity is below us, plus the funding rates are, of course, rising. Those are a few negative factors we shouldn't lose sight of. Let's take a quick look here at the funding rates. But they look significantly better for Ethereum than for Bitcoin. That's what we've been seeing all week. Ethereum is much, much stronger than Bitcoin. So theoretically, the price tag for the 5 would be up here somewhere around $3,560. Let's move on to Solana. Yes, Solana again. So in the end, it's actually a top range for trading, even though I didn't enter any trades here. I think the only one was here, which I then closed up here. But otherwise, oh no, it was here, and I closed it at the top once. Other than that, not much is happening here. So it's always this pump and dump stuff. In terms of volume, we're absolutely on the sidelines. Despite candles like the ones we've seen here in the last few hours, you can see for yourself the volume is absolutely in the basement. That's not what we want to see in an upward movement. That's not good. And the same thing, sorry, there won't be an XRP video today. The same thing with XRP. So there's almost nothing happening there either. The last video from last week is still up to date. Lower highs, lower lows. So we're absolutely in a downtrend here. Here too, the support is short term. We can quickly drag the buy zone over here. It just has to hold. Otherwise, as you can see for yourselves, absolutely nothing has happened all week. It's risky to bet on altcoins at the moment. Sure, they can pump more, but still, the risk is just too high for me personally to get into any altcoins right now, except for Ethereum. So then, traditional markets, gold. Yeah, it's still pumping. The short is running, so that's not going to change for now either. Theoretically, we have room up to $4,328. That was my target. We've now filled the inefficiency plus the vector here. I'm curious to see how gold holds up over the next few days. But silver too, completely to the moon. So the next targets for silver, I don't even know if you can really determine them anymore. But we can try using Fibonacci here. That would probably end up somewhere between $69 and $87. Otherwise, I would just completely stay away from it, neither go long nor short. The risk of getting liquidated in either direction here is just too high for me personally. That's why I'm staying away from it. The next targets are probably $70 for now. Let's see if it gets that far. Then, oh right, I also wanted to give you a quick update on our USD JPY trade. It's still running. Take profit 1 has been reached and the stop loss has been moved to entry. Just to add, the dollar is currently stabilizing a bit again. And if we look at Japanese government bonds, yeah, I'm curious about next week. I'll be honest with you. Next week with these government bonds, and it's not just Japan, it's also US government bonds, which are suddenly shooting up again. It's going to be funny. Next week, right before Christmas, it's going to be really, really funny. Also for the stock markets, speaking of stock markets, let's head over there. DAX, yeah, not much is really happening. I think if you look at the chart over the past few months, I've said so many times, not much is happening anyway. This has been going on since May. Since May, there's been this 1,000-point range, which is absolutely useless. But, well, that's how it is. Dow Jones, new all-time high. We've reached a new all-time high. You know, that's what I was getting at. I've been saying all along that this would be the next step. Nasdaq has a bit to ponder. With the Nasdaq, it's also partly because Nvidia was a bit negative again yesterday. It's also because Oracle had negative earnings, which also dragged the Nasdaq down a bit. And this whole AI bubble, the topic has resurfaced a bit, or rather it's become a topic in general again, so you have to be a bit careful. The S&P 500 is slowly but surely approaching my short zone. And you know, ever since S&P 500 has been available again on Binx, I am ready. I am ready for the short in the next few days. I suspect maybe Monday, Tuesday, or even today we'll have to see. And Russell did well too. So we have a bearish divergence, that's clear. But a 4-hour close with a higher high. The daily close should also have been a higher high because that's what I was getting at yesterday in the stream. Exactly, it looks good too. Now we just need a higher low. So not to appear as a crash now, but rather as a higher low. Then I would be happy and satisfied here. In theory, it would already be enough to hold this range at 2,517 points. And you can also see that right now with the altcoins here performing much, much better. Otherwise, the volatility index is at a low level, down in the zone. Yeah, look forward to next week. I think it's going to bring some surprises. So if Japan, for whatever reason, doesn't raise interest rates, then it's a green light. But I can't really imagine that after they've already said they want to see 4 rate hikes. But all right, I'm curious to see what happens. Otherwise, I'd really like to hear your opinions down in the comments. What do you think about the current situation? Are you bullish? Are you bearish? Are you positioned short? Or are you buying at the moment? feel free to write it down in the comments below. And otherwise, I'd like to wish you a great start to the weekend, a successful start to the weekend. And that's it from my side. Thank you for listening. We'll talk again soon. Yes, maybe again tomorrow. If not, there's a live stream on Sunday. Until then, ciao CIO, and let's stay crypto.